You see, when a woman likes you and is trying not to show it, her words and her body often move in opposite directions. This is where most men get confused, because we tend to listen to what she's saying instead of watching what she's doing. But the truth is, a woman's body will always betray her heart. And the more she tries to suppress it, the more visible it becomes, if you know how to look. She might insist she's not interested, that she's just being friendly, or that she doesn't have time for relationships. On the surface, it all seems cut and dry. But then there's the way her eyes linger when you're not looking. There's the slight pause before she speaks, as if calculating how much of her affection she's accidentally letting through. You'll catch her laughing at things you didn't think were particularly funny, leaning in just a little too close, or fidgeting with her hair while she's talking to you. These are not rehearsed behaviors. They're subconscious leaks, slips from the emotional vault she's trying to keep shut. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Women, especially those who are emotionally mature or have experienced rejection or heartbreak, learn to self-protect. They tell themselves not to get too invested, not to make the first move, not to reveal too much. But the body doesn't follow those rules. The body speaks its own language, one rooted in evolutionary biology, not social conditioning. Eye contact is one of the clearest giveaways. A woman who's trying to hide her interest will often make eye contact just a second too long, and then look away quickly as if she was caught doing something wrong. It's not just about looking at you, it's how she looks through you, like she's searching for a reflection of herself in your gaze. It's subtle, fleeting, but it's loaded with meaning. And then there's the proximity effect. If you pay attention, you'll notice she tends to position herself close to you, even if unintentionally. She might not touch you, but her body angles toward you, her feet point in your direction, her posture softens when you speak. These are all signs that her internal world is emotionally aligned with yours, even if her words are telling a different story. Why does this contradiction matter? Because it reveals where her guard is up and where her heart is slipping through the cracks. Most men miss these cues because they're too focused on getting verbal confirmation. But women don't operate that way. Attraction for them isn't always spoken. It's felt, sensed, expressed in gestures and glances that seem small but speak volumes. So, the next time you're confused by mixed signals, don't just listen. Observe. The body doesn't lie. And often, it's the only part of her brave enough to tell the truth. Because sometimes the most honest confession of love is the one she never says aloud, but shows you every time she looks at you when she thinks you're not paying attention. When a woman likes you but is trying not to show it, one of the clearest yet most misunderstood signs is her tendency to create emotional distance, only to find subtle ways to pull herself back into your orbit. It's a behavioral paradox that can confuse even the most intuitive man. One day she's warm, attentive, and almost flirty. The next she's distant, distracted, and emotionally unavailable. But don't be fooled. This isn't indifference. This is restraint. And restraint is rarely ever about a lack of feeling. It's often about too much of it. Psychologically, this behavior stems from what I'd call the emotional pendulum. She's internally oscillating between desire and defense. On one side, she feels drawn to you, curious about your energy, emotionally invested, even if she hasn't admitted it to herself. On the other side, she's reminding herself of past hurt, disappointment, or a fear of looking too eager. So what you end up witnessing is this back and forth dance, leaning in and pulling away, connecting and then disconnecting. But in between those swings, that's where her true intentions hide. You'll see it in how she keeps communication going. She might not start every conversation, but she never fully lets it die either. She'll reply late, but thoughtfully. She may say she's busy, but still ask about your day. She maintains just enough connection to not completely vanish, because even though she's trying to appear detached, emotionally, she's tethered. And then there's the way she accidentally shows up in your space, whether it's in person, online, or in your thoughts. She'll find excuses to be near you, casually suggest shared environments, or make comments that anchor her in your mind. That's not coincidence. That's intentional avoidance wrapped in subconscious longing. Why does she do this? Because vulnerability feels like danger. especially for a woman who's been emotionally bruised. Putting herself out there again isn't easy, so she controls the exposure. She dials back her energy when she feels herself getting too close, only to reach out again when the fear settles. It's emotional regulation disguised as inconsistency. But here's the key. Her return always tells you more than her retreat. If she disappears and never comes back, that's clarity. But if she distances herself and still finds ways to stay present in your life, she's not rejecting you. She's testing your emotional presence. She's watching how you respond when she pulls back, not because she wants to play games, but because she needs to feel emotionally safe before she allows herself to fully lean in. As a man, your role isn't to chase, it's to notice. Notice the patterns, stay centered, don't get reactive, let her feel the safety of your steadiness without needing to pull her in. The more emotionally grounded you are, the more likely she is to close the gap she's been guarding so carefully.
Because when a woman creates distance but can't seem to stay away, it's not confusion, it's her heart wrestling with her fear. And if you want to reach her, you don't need to move faster, you need to move wiser. There's something most men overlook when trying to figure out if a woman likes them, and it's this. A woman rarely reveals her interest all at once. Instead, she offers it in fragments, careful pieces of herself, given in doses she can emotionally afford. That's what I call strategic vulnerability. And when a woman likes you but is trying not to show it, this is one of the most quietly powerful signs. She might not confess her feelings, but she will share something else, something personal. Maybe she talks about how her father raised her or how she struggled with trusting people. Maybe she lets slip that she sometimes feels alone or that she's afraid of not being enough. And then almost instantly, she shifts the conversation, brushes it off, or turns the focus back to you. Why? Because that moment of openness wasn't planned. It was a feeling trying to break through her logic. See, a woman's vulnerability is rarely accidental. Even when it seems spontaneous, there's always a psychological filter working in the background. She's constantly evaluating, can I trust this space? Will this man judge me or will he hold what I just said with care? So when she lets you in, even just a little, she's not just sharing information, she's testing emotional safety. She's revealing what matters to her without directly tying it to you. But make no mistake, the intention is there. What's profound here is that these subtle disclosures are often disguised as casual conversations. It's not about dramatic confessions or teary eyed breakdowns, it's in the small, significant revelations, the things she doesn't tell just anyone. And if you're not present, you'll miss the meaning. You'll think she's just opening up, but in reality, she's placing something fragile in your hands, waiting to see how gently you'll hold it. Philosophically speaking, vulnerability is the highest form of emotional courage. And when a woman likes you, even while trying to suppress it, her soul still reaches for connection. Strategic vulnerability is how she reconciles her inner desire with her outer restraint. It allows her to show interest without declaring it, to be seen without being exposed. It's a beautifully human contradiction, one that only a man with emotional depth will recognize. But here's where most men go wrong. They miss the significance of the moment. They treat it like small talk. They don't lean in, they don't validate her courage. And that silence, that failure to meet her emotional depth, is often why she retreats. Not because she didn't like you, but because she felt like you didn't see her. So if you're paying attention, don't just hear her stories, feel the weight of them. Respond with calmness, empathy, presence. Don't rush to solve, fix, or analyze. Just receive. Because if you can hold space for the parts of her she doesn't show the world, you become the exception, the one man she doesn't feel the need to hide from. Because when a woman shares her soul in fragments, she's not being indirect, she's being careful. And the man who listens with his heart, not just his ears, is the one she eventually gives it all to. There's a certain shift in energy that happens when another woman enters the room. And if you're observant, you'll feel it before you even see it. A woman who likes you but is trying to hide it may never admit her feelings directly, but watch her the moment another woman begins to orbit your space. The change is subtle but unmistakable. Her voice tightens, her responses become shorter, maybe she jokes more than usual or suddenly becomes quiet. It's not about the other woman, it's about you and how emotionally available you appear in that moment. Psychologically, what's happening here is a silent trigger. A woman who has unspoken feelings for you is constantly managing a fine line between emotional detachment and emotional investment. She's worked hard to maintain control, to appear unbothered, unreadable, in command of her image. But the presence of another woman, especially one who might capture your attention, threatens that control. And what breaks through is often not jealousy in the traditional sense. It's more like a flare of emotional tension that she didn't plan to release. What's interesting is that this behavior doesn't always show up as obvious competition. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's the way she suddenly brings up another guy, not because she wants you to be jealous, but because she needs to rebalance the dynamic. Other times, she'll become overly casual with you as if to prove to herself that she doesn't care. But that's exactly what gives it away. Indifference is easy when you truly don't feel anything. But when there's something unspoken simmering beneath the surface, it becomes performance, and performance always cracks under pressure. You might also notice a form of passive rivalry. If another woman compliments you, she might offer a dry smile. If someone else makes you laugh, she might look away or check her phone. These are not dramatic reactions, but they are emotional tells, moments when her internal world leaks out through micro behaviors. And it all stems from a deep-rooted desire not to be replaced. Even if she hasn't confessed her feelings, she still wants to feel chosen in some unspoken way. There's also an evolutionary component to this. Competition among women, especially over high-value men, is as old as human behavior itself. But in modern relationships, that competition has become subtle, refined, wrapped in social grace and indirect cues. A woman won't always fight for your attention with claws. Sometimes she'll do it with silence, or with sarcasm, or with an unexpected exit from the conversation. And if you're not emotionally aware, you'll miss what those moments really mean. The deeper truth here is that emotional possessiveness doesn't require a label. She doesn't need to be your girlfriend to feel a certain claim on your attention. All it takes is emotional investment. And even when she hides it, it shows. Because when a woman shifts around other women near you, it's not about insecurity, it's about unspoken desire. And if you pay attention to what she does when she's trying not to care, you'll see exactly how much she does. So one of the most misleading signs that a woman is into you, yet trying not to show it, is how she presents her time and availability. On the surface, she might seem distant, overly busy, or casually disinterested in any form of connection. She may tell you outright that she's not looking for anything serious, that she's focused on herself, or that she enjoys her independence too much to be caught up in anything romantic. And if you take those statements at face value, you'll miss what's really going on beneath them. Because what she's doing is not rejection, it's self-preservation emotionally. This is a very strategic move. By downplaying her availability, she protects herself from the vulnerability of wanting someone who may not want her back. She creates a sense of control. She gives herself a story to believe, I'm not available for this right now. But ironically, this very act of downplaying availability is often a subtle indicator that she is interested, just not willing to risk being obvious about it. Now, you'll notice that while she says she's busy, she still manages to respond to your messages, maybe not instantly, but consistently. She won't always initiate the conversation, but she rarely lets it go cold. She'll say she has a lot going on, but then she sends you a reel she thought you'd find funny, or asks about that meeting you mentioned last week. This isn't emotional detachment, it's guarded effort. It's interest filtered through caution. This duality, the spoken unavailability and the silent engagement, is where many men get confused, and understandably so. We've been conditioned to believe that if someone is into you, they'll make it obvious. But women often move through a different emotional logic, especially women who've been hurt, misled, or disappointed before. To them, playing it cool isn't just a tactic, it's emotional armor. Philosophically, this reveals something deeper about human nature. We don't always hide what we dislike. We often hide what we deeply value. When something matters to us, it triggers our fears of losing it. So rather than reaching for it with open hands, we keep it at a distance. It's not that she doesn't want to give you access, it's that she's unsure whether you'll honor it. This is why it's crucial to read the pattern, not just the moment. If she says she's unavailable but still finds ways to remain emotionally present, that contradiction is your clue. What she's really trying to do is protect her dignity without closing the door completely. She wants to be desired without demanding it. And more importantly, she wants to see if you can read between the lines or if you'll just walk away at the first sign of difficulty. So don't rush to judge her by her words alone. Pay attention to the quiet ways she stays connected, the softness beneath her detachment, and the moments when her no sounds more like a scared maybe. Because when a woman hides behind her independence, it's not always about disinterest, it's about fear. And the man who sees past her mask might just be the one she's been quietly hoping will choose to stay. One of the most emotionally revealing patterns you'll ever witness is this. A woman gives you a glimpse of her true self, her fears, her dreams, her raw, unfiltered thoughts, and then, as if it never happened, she pretends it didn't mean anything. She'll withdraw, shift her energy, or brush it off with a joke. But don't be misled by that retreat. That moment of openness was real. It was intentional, and it was deeply emotional. When a woman likes you but is trying not to show it, she doesn't always flirt with her words or bat her lashes like in the movies. Instead, she tests the emotional current just enough to see if it's safe to step in, and vulnerability is how she does that. She'll open the door, only a crack, letting you peer into the deeper parts of her. It might come in the form of a memory she's never shared, a fear she's rarely voiced, or a personal belief that's shaped her entire view of relationships. In that moment, she's not just talking, she's inviting, quietly, carefully, but purposefully. But what follows is where most men get confused. Instead of staying in that space, she suddenly distances herself. She might become more formal, change the subject, or even go silent for a while. That's not rejection, it's vulnerability hangover. She's second-guessing whether revealing that piece of herself was a mistake, whether you understood it, whether you'll use it against her. She's asking herself, did I just expose something he won't value? You see, for a woman, especially one who guards her emotions, vulnerability is never casual. It's a calculated risk. And when she pulls back after sharing, it's a defense mechanism rooted in the fear of being seen and not being received. Because being ignored hurts, but being known and then dismissed, that's devastation. That's the kind of pain people build walls around. What most men do in response, however, is either overreact, trying to fix her feelings, or ignore the moment entirely, missing the emotional significance. And both responses push her further away. The truth is, when a woman shows you her depth and then retreats, what she's really doing is watching how you hold what she gave you. Do you stay calm? Do you remain present? Do you change your behavior? These are her silent questions. And your response answers them louder than words ever could. This is where emotional intelligence becomes essential. It's not about saying the perfect thing. It's about being grounded, being aware enough to recognize that retreat doesn't always mean disinterest. It can mean impact. You didn't just touch her heart. You disrupted the balance she's been protecting. And that's significant. So if you notice this push-pull pattern, don't panic, stay consistent, stay gentle. Let her see that her moment of softness didn't make her weaker in your eyes. It made her real. And for a woman who's been hiding her feelings, being seen without judgment can be the very thing that gives her the courage to stop hiding. Because when a woman reveals her truth and then pretends it didn't matter, it's not denial, it's fear. And the man who sees the truth behind her silence is the one who earns the truth she's been dying to tell.